Hey, and welcome back. Sorry about that little break. I've gone and printed off a small forest of manuals, not all for this radio, but on for some reason this manual, page 17, actually does have the connector on it. So now I know which pins are plus and minus. I don't know what the other jumper across pin 1 and 2 is for. I'm not sure. So I'm going to connect power up to this connector and see what happens. I might have to jumper that thing. Hey, so front's turned off. Looking at this, it's the two horizontal ones. Oh, hang on. You're kidding me, right? That must be looking at the front of the connector. Okay. Very interesting. I'm not convinced about anything I'm reading right now. So I'm going to make sure that we're in current limit before... shouldn't be able to cook anything with this power supply, but I'll turn it off. Okay. Turn it on. Okay. Nothing's fused on the input power circuit yet. Let's see what happens when we hit the power button. Nothing. I bet you that jumper needs to be in there to do something annoying. So I'm going to jumper that with a pair of tweezers. Nothing. Very interesting. So, now the fun begins. That's totally dead. I reckon something's fused out because it looks like something's been arcing on here. But I'm not sure. So this is actually interesting. That's why they said they don't know if it works. I think they honestly knew it didn't work. But let's see what we find out. Need a little plastic container to put the screws in. So these little plastic containers are awesome. I can't say whether it's because they come with the fast food, that's what makes them awesome, or whether they are, but they're great. The ones that the sauce comes in with your nachos and stuff, they're just perfect. Putting all the little screws in so you don't lose them. And it looks like these screw holes are usually all in the same place on Yaesu rigs. There's a pattern to this. Interesting how they do this. So this is my first time taking one of these apart. Last time I had an exposure to one of these was an FT747. Don't know if it had any letters after it. That was in back in 91, 92. While I was still working at Codan, they were looking at what the competition rigs were like, because Yaesu was selling a lot of these as general coverage receive transmitters into Africa at the time, I believe. So we wanted to get our hands on one to see what it performed like, and it performed quite admirably actually in the ham bands. The intermods went up when you went out of the bands, which was to be expected because all the filters were optimized just for the ham bands, but it was still quite surprising how well it worked at the time as a general coverage transmitter. And they were using it just like for outback comms. Right, so that cover's off. There we go. Far be it for me to read the manual on how to open this thing up. Wow. Wow. I'd forgotten what these guys were like. Look at this. That's real components that you can see and touch and feel and sniff and lick if you wanted to. That's awesome. You can see the numbers on them. You can read the values on the resistors. It's got a whole lot of receiver low pass filters on the input. Wow. Yeah, it's been a while since I got to play with something like this with real components. Everything these days is surface mount, you can't find anything anywhere. But this is just awesome. Okay, now I need to get into the power side of things, which is on the other side, and I suspect that comes off with the heatsink. Yeah, most of these, oh, actually I'm guessing at this stage already in Japan they had machines that would load these components, because back at Kodan they had these machines called rayonics machines where the operator sat at this desk and they had a little tray in front of them that would move along with the components in it, and then above them was a laser beam that shone down and it illuminated the two holes where you had to stick it in, and they just stuck them all in and then hit the foot pedal and the next chassis moved along, or the next component moved along, and you just keep assembling like that, putting it in the holes until it was fully assembled, and then you would move on to the next chassis. Okay, speakers off there. Now, what's the easiest way to turn this over without destroying it? Okay, so looking at the tape and stuff in here, it's a bit hard to see, but a lot of these cables are secured with sticky tape in there, never been removed. So my guess actually is, and that was the first question I asked the gentleman when I was selling it, is does it have all the bits inside it? Because I don't want something that somebody's either board jockeyed or actually taken the valuable bits out of it. So the only one that's causing me grief, I'd say, is that main RF one that comes up. Is it the main driver? Okay, I can unplug that one there, and I should be able to pull that through now. There we go. The rest of the wires should now be long enough for me to lay it down like that. I'll move the power supply so you can maybe see a bit better what I'm doing right now. But I've got it laid down here, and I should be able to take the cover off the shielding off the top of the PA. Now the receiver side has got two sides to it. That's quite impressive actually. So there was the side that I initially shown you when I took the top off. Now that I've taken the PA off, there's another board in here, which is probably the microprocessor synthesizer board, I'd say. I can see a Yaesu marked, yeah, it's got a generic Yaesu number on it, so I'm not sure, but definitely the micro. It's a big DIP 40 package in there. So that's pretty cool. This is, wow, this is walk down memory lane looking at all these old components. This was back in the day when you could still fix things, you didn't chuck them out. And no, I'm not that old, but I got into the hobby extremely young. I think we worked out that I got the Dick Smith Funway into Electronics second printing of the first book when I was about 6. Would have had to have been, because that was when it was published, and Mum got it for me at the newsagent. So that was when I learned about resistors and capacitors and transistors and inductors, and yeah, it just became a hobby from there, which was actually, no, it became a career. The interesting thing was, though, it was just one of the things I was interested in. I mean, at that stage already I was rebuilding Briggs & Stratton 4-stroke single cylinder motors, which was also a fun thing to do. Man, that was good fun. Now, not sure what I'm going to do with this sticky tape, which is actually maybe still sticky. No, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it and fold it back so we can see what's going on here. I want to remove this without destroying things. And I've got the wires running across the top everywhere, so Yeah, I'm just going to have to cut this. There we go. So this is the first time this radio is being opened up. I'm guessing that the PA output transistors have failed. They're usually connected directly across the power. They will have gone short circuit to ground, and they will not have blown a fuse. I don't think this radio's got an internal fuse, but they probably got connected to the power without a fuse, and it's